What's going on, everybody? Tim here, back with another video. And in today's video, I wanted to continue our discussion from last week's video, talking about the system. Last week, we talked about how the system has been using all of us for forever. And it's time we started using the system to break free from the system. Today, I want to talk about, though, the greatest lie the system has ever sold us. The biggest lie that the system has sold us that most of us believe that totally isn't true. I was going to call this video the greatest lie the system has ever told us, but then I realized it's never really been said. It's not, no one ever walks up and says it. It's just kind of been insinuated. It's just been woven in all the advertising and all the propaganda and just the whole tapestry of the world around us. And that lie is that we are powerless. That lie is that we are just destined to be a wage slave, a worker bee, just another cog in the wheel, another face in the crowd, just another number. And the thing is, you can't really fault us for believing it because, like I said, it's prevalent. It's part of our everyday life, all day, every day. And also, everybody else around us believes it. So what do you expect us to believe? You know what I mean? There's so many things that, like, once you see it, you can't unsee it. And then you start to wonder, like, why did I ever believe this in the first place? And you have the tendency to, like, look at people who still believe it and maybe, like, look down on them. But you have to realize, like, no, it's not our fault. We come into this world basically a blank slate, and whatever is written on that slate is kind of like what we believe. And we have been told our entire lives through all the messaging that you can't do it. And there's a variety of reasons. You can't do it because of where you were born. You can't do it because of how you look. You can't do it because of your race, your gender, your sexual orientation. You can't do it because of your bank account or your parents' bank account when you were born. You can't do it for whatever reason. There's so many of them. If you don't believe me, just think about all the things about yourself that you don't like about yourself, that you're self-conscious about. And tell me that those things haven't stopped you from doing a lot of the things you wanted to do in life. I know for me personally, so many things. I've been working on them. I'm getting better. But there's so many things that when I look in the mirror or when I think about myself, I think they're negatives. They're not negatives. They're just how I am. But my size is one that for many years held me back. It was just like society through, books and magazines and having this representation of how a man should look and, the size a man should be. I looked in the mirror and I was too thin. That held me back from doing so many things in life. Just like, they're not, she's not going to want me. I'm too skinny, or I can't do that. I don't have the right physique. So many things. And we all have those things. And those are all programming. None of it's true. None of it's real, right? It's programming. Like, if you want to keep somebody enslaved, the best way to enslave them is to enslave them in their mind. If I tell you enough, you're not good enough because of whatever reason, you're never going to achieve your full potential. And the system, society, the powers that be do not want us to achieve our full potential, because if we achieve our full potential, we'll break free. We out here achieving our full potential, we're going to look around and be like, why am I working this job? Why am I living in this crappy city? Why am I putting up with all this stuff? I'm going to get out there and get it. I'm going to get out there and just start breaking the rules, not breaking the laws, breaking the rules. People who are vibrating on that high frequency and who are achieving their full potential, you can't hold them back. They make different choices. They be living. You can't stop them. But if they can get us to believe all the lies and the programming and that greatest lie that says we're powerless, you will never be able to get enough money to be financially free. You'll never be smart enough to go after that career you want. You'll never be attractive enough to attract the actual mate you want. You'll never be strong enough to get through life without addiction and drugs. All these lies. Just once again, just think about the things you're self-conscious about, and think about the ways it's held you back. And all those are lies. We are just who we are. You know, there's no right body type. There's no right gender. There's no right sexual orientation. There's no right ethnicity. It's just variations. All of us, we're just variations of human. And the of human part comes with a certain amount of power. We all, I mean, that's why we have free will. You know, we all, and this is one thing we do is a lot of times we'll look back and be like, oh man, I wish back 5 years ago, 10 years ago, whatever, I'd done so and so. And in hindsight, when we look back, we're like, why didn't I do it? But currently, right now, there's so many things we could be doing, but we won't do them because we're like afraid to do them, or we believe we can't do them. It's not meant for someone like us. We think we'll fail and we're scared of failure. 5 years from now, we'll look back and be like, why didn't I do that in 2025? But it's because we've been programmed. We've been brainwashed to think we can't. You know, that's why a lot of people, when they watch some of my videos, they're like, well, why don't you give us step-by-step methods to do it? And I'm like, honestly, I don't have all those answers because, you know, there's 8 billion people on the planet. There's 8 billion ways to do it, you know? I don't have the answers. I'm just really a motivator, just a messenger. And B, it doesn't matter if someone gave you the actual blueprint. If someone came down and was like, this is a blueprint for Timothy Ward to have the best life ever. If I don't believe I can do it, I'm not going to follow the blueprint. I'm not going to follow the blueprint. And that's why I think like the biggest step we all have to take is getting ourselves to believe in ourselves. And it's not easy. It's hard work. I'm on that journey now. I'm telling you, like, I'll be doing really good for a couple months, 2-3 months, and then something will happen and it'll knock me off my pivot. And I don't have to start all the way over, but it's like, I have to, you know, stop myself. Hey, Tim, we got to get back on the path, get back on the journey. You got to push all that stuff away. You are good enough. It's okay. It's fine. All that stuff is in your head. It's all in our head. But the beauty of it being all in our head is that we can change what's in our head. If that stuff was true, if we really were powerless, we really were worthless, we had to be destined for a life of just like work, buy, repeat, die. If all that was true, it'd be a problem. But none of it's true. It's all in our head. And I own my head, right? I'm in charge of what goes on in my head, so I can change it. We can get ourselves to a place where like we understand and believe that like we have power. We have choice, you know, we can make choices. And we can make choices, and it doesn't have to be between two bad choices. You know, our lives are not 100% affected by the world around us. You know, I talk with people all the time, and understandably, they're like, how can you be so positive? How can you believe that you can change your life? How can you believe in abundance? Look at the world around you. And they point out all the negative things in the world around them. Because that's what we've been programmed to do. We've been programmed to be scared of everything. We've been programmed to always see the negativity. Scared of everything. Scared of everything. Anything you bring up, someone will bring up something negative, something to be scared of. Anything. You can bring up I had the best day ever, you know, and someone will be like, oh, what about this? What about that? Like the negative, fearful always comes up. It's not our fault. We've been programmed. We can change that. We can change that. But my answer when people say that is like, I just try to focus on like the beautiful, amazing, positive, abundant stuff in the world. Like both are coexisting in this world. There's pain, there's suffering, there's bad stuff, and there's joy, there's love, there's happiness, there's good stuff. I just try to focus on the good. And the more I focus on the good, the more like good I feel and the more like powerful I feel. You know, part of the reason I spend so much time in nature is because nature ain't fazed by inflation, the president, the economy, celebrity, you know, all this stuff we get all worked up about. And, you know, it's a really big deal to us, you know, terror and all this stuff, crime. Nature don't care about none of this. And I'm not saying that this stuff like doesn't affect us. I think I got to move my camera, get out this shadow. Hold on. I'm not saying that any of this stuff doesn't like affect us. I'm saying it's not the only thing. Right? The negative stuff going on in the world is not the only thing. The bad stuff that might even be happening in our life is not the only thing. There's also good. You know, we can focus on the positive. We can look at the abundance and the prosperity in life. We can look at other people's lives who might be living their lives in a manner or have the life we want. And instead of it being a jealousy thing, it can be a positive thing. That's just another human too. You know, they're human too. I'm human. She's human. He's human. If she can do it, he can do it, they can do it. Why can't I do it? It's all about mindset. You know, it's all about mindset and like reprogramming ourselves. We have to like physically like reprogram ourselves. If you have a computer program, it doesn't just go away. You know what I mean? Like you have to like actually delete that program and reprogram. And it's like, we need to like delete that negative, I'm not good enough. You know, I have to follow their rules. I have to play their game mindset. And in the beginning, it does kind of leave us programless. And I think that's what's so scary about it, is because like in the beginning, you know, as we're deleting the old programming, our whole life foundation has been built on this stuff. You know, we're deep in this game, right? Our whole foundation in life has been built on the lies that we've been told. You know, we went to these public school, most of us, these indoctrination camps. So much of like what we believe in the world comes from K through 12, where they taught us like, hey, you got to sit and you got to raise your hand if you want to go to the bathroom, and you got to take these certain tests, and like you're only good for this, and like there's so much indoctrination. That's the foundation we have. So when we start to unlearn that and take it away, it's scary because you're left with like no foundation, right? You're like, what do I even believe anymore? But as we start to add positive programming, as we start to add our own programming, we start to build a new foundation, and your life starts to be built on the things you want it to be built on. Less on fear, more on like power, you know, less on fear, more on love, less on negativity, more on positivity. And then when that type of stuff is your foundation in life, then you'll see how your life's different. You'll start to move different. You'll start to make different choices. That's when people start, like, the people ask me this stuff all the time. And that's when I realized, like, oh, like I'm out here doing different stuff. You know what I mean? People are like, how can you do that? What about this? You're not scared about that? No. My foundation is different now. I truly believe that the world is a beautiful place. There's some bad stuff in it. There's some bad people in it. But I think it's about 80-20. 80% good in the world, 25% bad. And if those are the percentages, I just have to accept that, like, you know, 23% of the time, bad stuff's going to happen to me. But the other 77, why do I try to do percentages like that? I don't do math. But the other 70-80% of the time is going to be cool. So I just look forward to the cool. You start to reprogram your mind, I'm telling you, the world looks different. You move through the world different. You make different choices, different decisions. A lot of that stuff that, you know, we all have in the back burner that we're like, man, I want to do that, but should I do that? Those ideals we've had for 15 years, a lot of that stuff, when we start to get a different program running and we break through the lies, you know, we see through the lie and the lies that we've been sold, we start to go after that stuff because we're no longer afraid. And also we understand that, like, I can do it, or I can try to do it. And if it doesn't work out, it's not the end of the world. I can just try again. Or I realize, okay, that wasn't the move, but let me try something else. You know, we don't have to just give in. We don't have to stay enslaved. We don't have to stay at the mercy of other people our entire life. Worst case scenario, we just keep trying to get free and we fail. Worst case. But we could, you know, live the rest of our life knowing that we've been trying. You know what I mean? Now, I honestly think that if we spend the rest of our life trying to get free, we will get free. But worst case, you just have the joy and happiness of knowing that you're going to spend the rest of your life trying to get to the life you want. But I honestly think for most of us, like, yeah, if we keep trying, and it starts small. It starts with the reprogramming, and then I'm big on baby steps. You know, you ain't got to quit your job and move to Cambodia tomorrow. You know what I mean? Or whatever, you know, stuff like that. And by the way, I just want to say too, real quick, folks, this is for my Americans, you can get free in America. I saw so many comments on my last video. Everybody was like, oh, you just got to leave America. You can get free in America and you can still be enslaved overseas. That'll be another video, but I just wanted to bring that up quickly because I saw a lot of comments about it. But the main focus of this video, that lie of just like, as a human being, you're nothing but basically cannon fodder, and you just gotta, you know, go along with the system and what it tells you to do, which is basically work, blow all your money, get into debt, get an addiction so you can cope, and just stay in that cycle until you're 67, and then maybe you can retire and have enough money to move to the villages in Florida and keep doing that same stuff, but with your Social Security and pension money. That is a lie. I firmly believe like we can influence what happens in our life, and we can have lives we enjoy. You know, we can wake up and be smiling and happy and spend time with our families and do the things we like to do. Maybe not all the time, but a good portion of our life. We can be in control. We can decide when we're going to do the things we don't want to do. We can decide, okay, this is something I don't like to do, but I'm going to do it because like it's going to get me here. We can be in control. We can have the power. That is what being a human means. That's why we were given free will. We weren't given free will to only exercise it on like what video we watch on Netflix, you know what I mean? And what, you know, unhealthy food we eat every night. Anyway, I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comment box below. I'm Tim. I love each and every one of y'all. I'll talk to y'all soon.